Hello friends, welcome to Learner's Planet. Friends, this is our 7th session for percentage. I hope you might have revised all the 6 sessions before attending this particular session. We'll be doing some applications in this session. Let's begin to do the first problem. Now let's do this problem. The population of a variety of tiny bush in an experimental field increased by 10% in the first year, 8% in the second year, and decreased by 10% in the third year. If present number of bushes in the field is this, then we have to find the number of bushes in the beginning. Let it be x. After 1 year, it is 110%, that is 11 by 10. After 2 years, further there is an increment of 8%. The value will be 108%. Then in the third year, the value is decreasing by 10%. That means the value will be 90% of the previous year. And finally, this is 26730. Here we have to calculate the value of x. I think the calculation is very simple since all the options are in integers or whole numbers. Okay, so it won't take much time of yours to calculate x. Okay, so x is equal to 26730 into 10000 by 11 into 108 into 9. After calculating, you'll be getting the value as 25,000. Okay, friends? I hope you are clear. Now, a man spends 35% of his income on house rent, 75% of the remaining on other items. Then we have to find his saving. That means he's spending 35% on house rent. That means he's left with 65%. That is, okay, we just write it 65%. Then of 65%, he's spending 75% on other items. That means he's left with 25% of this 65%. Okay, which we can say is saving. So it's 65 into 25 by 100 into 100. That means 16.25% he is saving. Since we are left with 16.2 by 100, which is 16.25%. Okay, I hope you are getting my point. Now let's see this question. A person invests 75% in machinery, 10% on raw material, 10% on employees, and he has rupees 20,000 cash with him. How much did he invest in machinery and raw material together? He is investing 75 plus 10, that is 85% on machinery and raw material. Okay, which we have to calculate. Okay. Now, in all, his spending is 75 plus 10, 85 plus 10, 95%. Okay, and he is left with 5%, and 5% is actually 20,000. So 5% is 20,000, and we have to calculate 85%. Now 5% is 20,000, and 85% is 17 times of 5. That means 85,000 will be 17 times of 85% will be 17 times of 20,000. Okay, so that will be 3,40,000. I hope you are clear. So 3,40,000 will be the correct choice. Now let's say this question. In an examination, there are 100 boys and 800 girls. In all, there are 900 students. Okay. Now 60% of the boys and 50% of the girls are passed. We have to find out the percentage of the candidate failed. Okay. Now 60% of the boys are passed. That means 40% of the boys are failed. That means 40 boys are failed. Similarly, from 800 girls, 50% of the girls are passed. That means 50% of the girls are failed. That means 400 girls are failed. In all, 440 students are failed out of 900 students. Okay, so we just have to calculate this percentage. 9 fours are 36, 8, 0, 9 eights are 72, further 8. So it's 48.888. That is 48.9% around. Okay. I hope you are clear. Now let's say this question. The income of A is 20% less than the income of B. That means income of A is 80% of income of B. That means A's income is 80%, that is 4 by 5 of B. That means A is to B is 4 is to 5. Okay. Now the income of B is 10% less than the income of C. That means B's income is 9 by 10 of C, that is 90% of C. Okay. So B is to C is 9 is to 10. Now we have been given the income of C and we have to find out the income of A. Okay. Let's combine the ratio. So it's A is to B is to C, 4 is to 5 is to 9 is to 10. Okay. So it's 36 is to 45 is to 50. That is the ratio of A, B and C. Now, if the income of C is rupees 180, that means 50 part is 180, then we have to find out 36 part. Okay. So it's 180 by 50 into 36. That is the income of A. Okay. It would be something in fraction definitely. So you don't have to calculate. It will be, there is only one choice in fraction or decimals we can say. So it will be 129.6. I hope you are clear. Now let's have a recap of a concept which we discussed in previous sessions. Here, the selling price of a certain commodity was reduced by 25%. As a result of it, the sales is increased by 30%. What was the effect of it on the cash collected by daily sales? Friends, further, price per unit into quantity is equal to revenue. Now in this case, the initial price and initial quantity or sales is 10 and revenue which is being collected is 100. Okay. Now the price, selling price is reduced by 25%. That means the new selling price is 7.5 and as a result of it the sales increased by 30%. That means the new sales or the new quantity is 13. Now we have to see the revenue. Okay. It is 13 sevens are 91 plus 6.5. So it is 97.5. Okay. So initially it was 100. Now it is 97.5. That means there is a downfall of 2.5%. Okay. So what was the effect of it on the cash collected by daily sales is it's a 2.5% decrease. Okay. I hope you are clear. Now, further, if the price of the kerosene be raised by 10%, by how much percent a householder must reduce his consumption of kerosene so that not to increase his expenditure? Friends, once again, the same concept which we have already discussed, the price is raised by 10%. That means the new price is 110% of the previous one. 110% is 11 by 10. Okay. That means if price is 11 by 10, that means the consumption should be 10 by 11, isn't it? As we have already discussed, if price is double, the consumption must be half. If price is 3 times, then the consumption must be 1 by 3. If the price is 4 times, then the consumption should be 1 by 4 and so on. Okay. Similarly, in this case, if the price is 11 by 10, the consumption should be 10 by 11. That means we have to reduce the consumption by 1 by 11, isn't it? That is 1 minus 10 by 11. Okay. So we have to reduce the consumption by 1 by 11. And 1 by 11 is what percent? It is around, I hope you are able to recap that we discussed about the fraction to percentage conversion. So What will be 1 by 11? It will be 9 point something. So around 9.09%, since it is not a whole number, or we can say it will not be an integral value. So it is 9 point something, which is there in this option. Okay, I hope you are clear. Now, in measuring the sides of a rectangle, one side is taken 5% in excess and the other is 4% in deficit. What is the change in area as a percentage? Initially, let the length and breadth be 10 and 10. So length into breadth is area. Maybe 10 into 10 is. Okay. Now, one side is taken as 5% excess. That means length, say length is taken in 5% excess. So the new length is 10.5. And the other is 4% in deficit. That means the new breadth is 9.5, 9.6. Now we have to calculate this. Okay. It's 100.8. So initially it was 100, now it is 100.8. That means 0.8% of increment in the area. Okay, so it's this. I hope you are clear. Now let's say this question. 33%. Now in this question, 33% marks are required to pass an examination. A candidate who get 210 marks fail by 21 marks. Okay, so we have to find out the total marks in the examination. Now 33% marks are required and the candidate is getting 210 marks and is failed by 21 marks. That means pass marks is 210 plus 21, that is 231. Okay, since he's getting 210 marks and is failed by 21 marks, so the total marks required to pass is 231. Now this 231 is actually 33%. Now let the total marks is x, and 33% of this is this 231. Okay, and we have to calculate the value of x. So x 11 3 11 21 3 7. That means x is equal to 700. I hope you are clear. So 700 is the total marks and 231 is the pass marks. Friends, I'm sure you are solving problems with me. Okay, now let's try to do this problem mentally. A football team won 40% of the matches and it lost 50%. Okay, winning 40%, losing 50%. So remaining 10% are draw. Okay, and the 20 matches are draw. That means 10% is 20. Then we have to find out the total number of matches. So 10% is 20. That means 100% is 200. Isn't it very simple? You can do this sort of problems even mentally. Now let's see this question. Two numbers are respectively 20% and 50% more than a third number. The percentage that is first of the second is. Okay, let the three numbers be A, B and C. So A is 20% more than the third number. That means A is 130% of C. I'm sorry, 120% of C. Now 120% is what? 6 by 5. So A is 6 by 5 of C, or we can say A is to C is 6 by 5. Now the second number is, that is B is 50% more than the third number. That means B is 150% of C, or we can say B is 50% or 3 by 2. I'm sorry, 50% more or 3 by 2 of C. That means B is to C is 3 is to 2. Okay. So we have to combine A, B and C. Since we have to find out the ratio of first and second. Okay, let's do it over here. So A is to C is 6 is to 5 and C is to B is 2 is to 3. Okay, here B is to C is there. I'm just writing C is to B over here. So it's 2 is to 3. So A is to C is to B is 12 is to 10 is to 15. Okay. That means A is to B is 12 is to 15, or we can say 4 is to 5. That means B is A is 80% of B. Okay. The percentage that is first of the second is 80%, that is 4 by 5. I hope you are getting my point. Now let's see this question. At an election, the candidate who got 56% of the votes won by 144 votes. That means the loser might have got 44% of the votes, isn't it? The winner has got 56%, the loser might have got 44%. Then what is the difference between the two? It's 12%. So 12% of the total votes cast, suppose it is X. So 12% of X is equal to 144. Okay. So that means total number of votes is 1200. Okay. Now we have to find out the number of voters in the voting list if 80% people cast their vote. That means 80% is 1200. Okay. So that the total number is T, and 80% of T is 1200. Okay. So what is the total number of voters in the list is? We can calculate it. 80% is 4 by 5 is 1200. So the total number of voters in the list is 1500. Okay. I hope you are getting my point. Now let's say this problem. In an examination, Mohit obtained 20% more than Sushant, but 10% less than Rajesh. If marks obtained by Sushant is 1080, we have to find out the percentage marks obtained by Rajesh, and full marks is 2000. Okay. Now Mohit is getting 20% more than Sushant. That means Mohit is getting 120% of Sushant. That means Mohit is to Sushant is 6 is to 5. 6 is to 5 is 120%. Okay. And Mohit is getting 10% less than Rajesh. That means Rajesh is to Mohit is 10 is to 9. That means Mohit is getting 90% of Rajesh. Mohit is getting 90% of Rajesh. Okay. Now we have to find out the combined percentage. So here Rajesh is to Mohit is to Sushant. Okay. So it is 6 is to 5. So it is 60 is to 54 is to 45. Let's simplify it. 18 and 15. Okay. Now, if the marks obtained by Sushant is 1080, that means 15 part. Now 15 part is 1080. We have to find out 20 part. That is the marks obtained by Rajesh. So if 15 is 1080, then 20 will be equal to 1080 by 15 into 20. We can say 15 part or 20 part. Okay. That means 360 into 4, that is 1440. 1440 is Rajesh marks. Now we have to find out his percentage. So 1440 is getting from 2000. So percentage is 144 by 2, that is 72%. I hope you are clear. Now let's see this question. Ram spends 20% of his monthly income on household expenditure, 15% of the rest on books, and 30% of the rest on clothes, and saves the rest. Okay. On counting, he comes to know that he has finally saved rupees 9520. We have to find his monthly income. Friends, let's assume his monthly income to be X. Okay. Now, initially he is having X rupees and he is spending 20% of this X on household expenditure. Okay. 20% is 1 by 5. That means 1 by 5 he is spending on household expenditure. That means he is left with 4 by 5 of his income. So he is left with 4 by 5 of his income. Okay. Now the second step, just listen to me very carefully. He is now spending 15% of the rest on books. This is the amount which is left with him after household expenditure. Now of this he is spending 15% on books. Okay, that means now he is left with 85%. Okay, 85% of this amount. So 15% is 3 by 20. So he is spending 3 by 20 of this amount on books. That means he is left with 17 by 20 of this. Okay. Just listen to me very carefully. Okay. Then he is spending 30% of this amount on clothings. Okay. That means he is spending 3 by 10 of this on clothings. That means he is left with 7 by 10 of this amount. Okay, which is his saving. So just observe the problem step by step. Just try to understand it. Okay, now this is his total saving, and which is actually 9520. Friends, X was his monthly income and he's spending on household expenditure, then on books, and then on clothes, and finally he's left with this amount, which is actually 9520. Now we have to find out the value of X. Okay, so let's solve it. Okay, so X will be 80 into 25 into 10. That means 20,000. Okay, I hope you are clear. Now let's see this problem. On a shelf, the first row contains 25% more books than the second row, and the third row contains 25% less books than the second row. Okay, so we are given 600 books as a whole. We have to find out the number of books in the first row. Now let's assume the number of books in the second row is X. Okay, it's first, it's second, and it is third. Now here it is X. Now the first row is containing 25% more books than the second row. That means the first row must be having 25% more than X. That is 125% of X, we can say, or we can say 5 by 4 of X. Okay, and similarly this the third row is containing 25% less than the second row. That means the third row is containing 75% of the second row. That is 3 by 4 of the second row. So that is 3 by 4 of X. Now the total books is 600. Okay, that means 5 plus 4 9 plus 3 12. So that means X is equal to 200. Okay, that means in the second row the total number of books is 200. That means in the first row it is 25% more. That means 200 plus its 25%, that is 50. So it is 250. Okay, I hope you are clear. Friends, we'll be doing some more problems in the next session. Till then, do revise this particular session and all the previous session of percentages. Okay, bye-bye.